Hello and welcome back to part two of the NBA Finals. My name is Jess of Spicy Gemini Astrology and Spicy Gemini Memes, and I am with
Trevor.
Trevor the Aquarian. And before we get into games five, six, and seven, very briefly, as mentioned, I'm Jess of Spicy Gemini Memes and Astrology. I've been a professional astrologer for 8 years. I love all things in pop culture, so I will be predicting NFL games, talking about Love Island contestants. I do all of the things. I'm just usually interested in what's happening and identifying the astrology behind it. I had previously not really predicted much for NBA games, and as I started tracking this particular run of the NBA Finals, I've been 4 for 4 so far. So I started predicting when I saw game one. I'm like, oh yeah, the Knicks obviously win. Game two, yep, Knicks win again. Game three, you can actually see in our prior video on my channel me processing in real time that the Spurs won game three. And for game four, I'm like, oh, the Knicks win, but it's a really close game, which again was the case. All of this,
Game.
yeah, literally a 1 point game. All of this predicting is from Eastern time, hence the timestamps. One thing I will say is I know sports can be a little bit fickle. I have not put money down on any of these games. I don't intend to put money down on any of these games. Am I taking stock and taking note of what seems to be significant for players with these games where they're really shining brightly or struggling? Yes. However, this is for entertainment purposes, so please keep that in mind as we move forward. Now, before we get into predicting games five, six, and seven, we kind of wanted to review two players in game four that really stood out, either for the good or the bad.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with the good with the Knicks player, Anunoby. Can you tell us a
Yes.
little bit about OG Anunoby?
Yes. So OG, he's been in the league for at least 6 or 7 years. He's kind of bounced around a little bit. He used to play in Toronto, came over to the Knicks, and
Okay.
he's been like cornerstone player for them for the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Maybe it was only 2 years, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, he had a phenomenal game. He had his playoff career high as a player. This past game, he hit the game-winning tap-in buzzer beater, which was just an insane display of athleticism by
Mhm.
this guy. Like
Mhm.
like just all these NBA guys are doing things that doesn't make sense athletically, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, he had a phenomenal game, and without him and Jalen Brunson both scoring 30 points, there's no chance that the Knicks come back from 27 points down. So
Yeah.
he really held it together for the Knicks as a whole, and then he happened to be the guy that hit the last shot. So
Yes.
it's just a great game. Seriously, just such a great game.
That's incredible. I love to see it. And what really tickled me was afterward for the interview, he was like, yeah, people seem excited about. It's like, yeah, people are excited. This is a huge deal. But he has a little bit of a nonchalant energy, particularly with his sun in the sign of Cancer. Now, what is notable in his chart and as it is reflected in this game four chart is this gorgeous conjunction that we had with Venus and Jupiter was right on top of his sun, which is his ego, his identity, his outward expression. And so basically, this conjunction is saying, like, no, you need to celebrate what you can do. Like, you are being put on this platform, enjoy it, embrace it. We also see that his athleticism shone especially bright during this game. At the start of the game, the highest point of the chart, which usually is how the public is perceiving the impact of the event, is at 13 degrees in the sign of Libra. Now Mars, which is his athleticism, his athletic gifts, is within, I don't know, it's the same exact degree, but it's within, 9 minutes or so of the exact conjunction with the midheaven. So he was going to shine in this game. We also see his moon right on the ascendant at the start of the game. This is only significant because this moon in Sagittarius rules his sun, his ego, his identity. And so there was something in this moment because usually the moon is reflecting the body, or in transit astrology, that particular instance. There's something associated with his body, with his athleticism that is then celebrated, which obviously, again, is this game winning tip in. Is it considered a tip in or not even?
Tipping,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah.
So that's kind of what I see as outstanding. Super like thrilled by the end of that game. And now we are going to talk about one other player where like a little bit shaky performance comparatively. Is that correct?
That's it. Correct. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we have De'Aaron Fox.
Yes, De'Aaron Fox. So no one would tell you that he's playing bad in the playoffs so far.
Okay.
He's being his expectations for himself from everybody else are a little bit higher than what he's been doing so far in the playoffs.
Okay.
He's an all-star caliber point guard that has not been an all-star. So he's just been good. You know what I mean? He's just
Yeah.
been good. Yeah, the Spurs brought him in to kind of be a steady hand on the roster because everybody else is 22, 23 years old. Like the rest of the roster is extremely young. And this
He's
guy,
almost 30,
yeah,
turning
he's not old
29.
either, but he's just like, a little bit older, a little bit more experience.
Okay.
And he's also, yeah, he's got two other guards on the team right now, Dylan Harper and Stefan Castle.
Mm,
They're both third-year player and a rookie, so they're both very fresh,
okay.
but they're both outplaying him right now. So there's
Okay.
just like kind of some invisible pressure on him
Hmm.
to um to be himself and just play as good as he normally does. And
Yeah.
he's like kind of missing, like, I don't know, but he had a play at the end of the game with 5 or 6 seconds left where he should have held the ball and or brought it back out past the 3-point line or whatever, just
Yeah.
held just ran the clock out. But he put up a layup instead. And he ended up getting blocked by OG, who had who made the game-winning shot. So
Yeah.
OG made two plays that without those two plays, the Knicks aren't up 3-1.
Wow.
So
Okay.
he got blocked by Fox got blocked by OG Anunoby, and it gave the opportunity to the Knicks to have a game-winning shot when
Interesting. Okay.
Fox could have just held it.
Okay.
So yeah,
So here, this inner wheel, we have Fox. This is his natal chart. The outer wheel, again, game four, the start of the game. With this in mind, we talked a little bit about this Jupiter-Venus conjunction. There was another transit that was happening alongside of this really beautiful, gorgeous, supportive conjunction, and it was a square. It was a square that we are not wild about. Specifically, it was Mercury, which is how we are moving the ball, how we are moving across the court. Square, meaning in conflict with Saturn, and Saturn is hard stops. It is slowing us down. It is separating us from whatever the goal is. And so for many people, around this time, June 9th, June 10th, and even June 11th, very discordant energy. People were reporting like super weird dreams, like just like, ugh, the energy was a little bit weird. But in Fox's chart, it was elevated substantially because we had this mundane transit, meaning just happening in real time in the real world, Mercury square Saturn. But it was also directly impacting his Saturn. So he's in his exact Saturn return to the degree, which happens once every 28 and a half to 30 years. So it's a big deal. And then on top of that, he has this Mercury square with his natal Saturn and Mercury square the transiting Saturn too. And so basically what this suggests is his typical steadfastness, his typical path to his athletic ability, because his Mars is ruled by this Saturn, is a little bit off kilter. And we see this in two junctures where there is an issue with decision management. The other place we see this is the transiting sun, which is where the focal point is of that particular day, directly opposing his Mercury. I kind of see the rest of this series as psychologically touchy for Fox, okay? And I think that the mental game, it's not as intense as what Wemby is showing with regards to mental stress. This is just kind of like, am I off my game? Like, what's going on? But the sun opposite Mercury, his Mercury's natally retrograde, it's natally in bad shape. So that is not a deal breaker, obviously, but the hardships associated with that Mercury are exaggerated substantially. And the spaces and places where he gets support and a reprieve, typically, which I think his Saturn is decently well functioning for him, uh, that's under attack as well. Because I think, and you could probably tell me more about this, is he somebody who has a lot of like personal authority in terms of like willing to make like edgy decisions if he thinks it will benefit the collective?
yeah. I mean, he's been trusted in so many situations on every team he's ever played on. He's been the go-to guy. Trust him
Okay.
with the ball in his hands. So
I think there may be an internal thought of like, is that trust well suited at this juncture? Obviously, it is. Like, it's not so much that question,
mhm.
it's more what's going on internally because of this current astrological weather, again, the Saturn return once every 30 years, and the mercurial pressure, because his Mercury can kind of spiral into a lot of different arenas, which can be very constructive, very creative in his gameplay and how he moves and how he handles the ball. But at this juncture, it's kind of like, okay, we can't be frivolous. We cannot be that creative. We need to get these wins if we have a chance.
Listen, he's there's a point guard that they drafted second overall last year that Fox has got to be hearing everybody what all the sports announcers are saying. Everybody
Uh,
wants this Dylan Harper guy to be playing.
okay. So
And
he's worried he's on his way out.
I don't even know if it's way out. It's just there's a lot. Dylan Harper, the way that he's been playing, he wouldn't have made that mistake
Okay.
that De'Aaron Fox did. So
Okay.
he just might be in his head about that. Like,
Understood.
yeah.
Yeah. He'll have another pass like this in December. So I wonder if there's like off-season happenings. And then he'll have one more pass in the spring. Anyway, with that in mind, let's shift gears and let's talk a little bit about game 5. So, I'm going to start with my little rundown. What you have noticed across all of these games is the symbol at the ascendant here is the same. It's been the same, will continue to be the same for the rest of the series. The symbol at the descendant is also the same as it's been. So, the away team is ruled by this ascendant, which is Jupiter. The reason this has been a series that I have been somewhat confident to delineate from is because we have a very strong Jupiter. And one of the two teams is always represented by this Jupiter, okay? And that's kind of leading some of my predictions. The descendant here, which is the home team, so this is the Spurs, is represented by Mercury, and Mercury is in like neutral shape. It's like, okay. So we have a very strong planet always for the away team. And then we have like this neutral planet for the home team. I will say that Mercury is in its own decan and in its own terms. So there is secondary quiet support in the background. But nonetheless, it is something where we're seeing Jupiter especially strong. Okay. Now, with that in mind, what does this look like for the game itself? Little bit of a mixed bag. And I ended up having to look at additional charts. So, how the Knicks are being impacted, how the Spurs are being impacted before I made a decision. I think game 6 and 7 are a lot more clear. This is another game where I'm like, I could see it going either way. Okay. So, with that in mind, we need secondary points of information. We look at the moon. The moon is in the seventh house. The moon is the contemporary experience of the moment. Who is in favor? This does give a little bit of an edge to the home team. However, Mercury, again associated with the Spurs, is still at a square with Saturn, though it is a little bit further apart. And so the Spurs are still, they're just not, there's not a tempo. There's not a tempo to be had. That does not mean that they are in atrocious shape. Again, we're seeing they have subtle support. But there is something off kilter. And we also see this with Uranus, the planet of abrupt and unexpected changes, conjoining the descendant. So it's like they're trying to switch up, they're trying to keep up. When they get the upper hand, they feel like, okay, this is it, this is our break. And then sometimes they just lose it. That tempo hasn't left. That erratic, bizarre signature is still very much a part of the Spurs experience. And if we look at the away team, the Knicks, we're not seeing that. Like that's it. We're not really seeing that. What we do see for the Knicks is the transiting Mars, which is associated again with athleticism, is forming a positive aspect with Jupiter, which is great. Um, Mercury is actually also getting this support. Again, for me, it's very much like, okay, here's a little support for the Knicks. Okay, here's a little bit of support for the Spurs. Okay. And so initially, I was like, it could go either way. I saw that similar pattern for game 4, as you saw with my delineation. I think it's another very close game. Ultimately, I think, let me just check to see if there's anything else outstanding. I kind of think it may go in the direction of the Knicks. I don't think that that is me being partial. I think that it could go in the direction of the Knicks. This is the least confident I've been of all of the games so far. I think that if the Knicks lose by game 7, they win. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
It does.
What do you think of this game 5? Now, the Knicks are back in where, San Antonio?
Yes. All the pressure in the world's on the Spurs. The
Yeah.
Spurs they have to win to keep
Mm,
playing. They have to win. So, um, I trust the Knicks a lot more than I do the Spurs. The Knicks have a group of players who have all been in the league for an extended period of time, used to play in college together for half their roster, pretty much. Not
yep.
half their roster, but half the starting lineup. Um, they all play very cohesively. They know when their teammate's going to cut. They know when they're just on the same page.
Mm,
And the Spurs are at the beginning of that point.
Hmm.
So it's just a very cohesive team playing against kind of, they're very fresh.
Yeah.
So I trust the Knicks to win, and the pressure is just going to be pretty extreme for the Spurs. So
Okay.
I think the pressure is going to be too much for them.
Okay. So we're both leaning toward the Knicks. I feel non-committal. I think that I will lock in my decision of the Knicks winning this game. I
Mhm.
definitely am still standing by them winning the series. Now, game six, we have a little bit of a different energy. Now we are back in New York. The ascendant, as you can see, we still have this focus on Jupiter. Okay. So that's the away team. Now the home team is this Mercury. And you see the moon is right between the ruler of the home team, which is the Knicks, and it's moving toward the ruler of the away team, which is the Spurs. It's a Spurs advantage. But based on this, it looks like the Knicks won the last game. Okay. And again, the moon is telling us what is happening right then, right in that moment. And at least with NFL predictions, you can actually look at the chart and you can look at the different signifiers for the home team and the away team to see like where they have come from and where they are headed. We saw that with the Eagles very tangibly, like, oh, they won, like they won the last Super Bowl, but this is not their season. That you can go that deep, but more superficially, this reads as though the Knicks won the last game. And at the same time, I feel very confident that if they don't, for whatever reason, the Spurs are winning game six. And just time and time again, it's the away team that has that edge of winning, like winning ability. Um, and I don't think that it evaporates yet. Like, I don't see that going away. What do you think of game six? Now we're back in New York. That is not inherently just winning for the Knicks, right?
Mhm.
We've already seen a loss. What do you think?
I want to see New York get the championship at New York. I think that'd be
Yeah.
so incredible for the
Mm.
city. So I'm not rooting against the Knicks tonight at all. But if it'd be super cool to see them win at home.
Okay.
So um just all that energy from the crowd, from the city, from everybody. I guess it's a lot of pressure too. So it could be in the opposite direction.
Sure.
But it'd be awesome to see them. The city would go insane. The
I
city would go
know.
insane. I
I
mean, they're going
know.
to if
They're
they
going
win,
to
no
either
matter what.
way.
But it
Yeah.
just like winning at home and you walk out the
Mm,
arena and you're in New York City, like come
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna say the Knicks win at all the rest of these games.
Great. That's fine. And that's what we like. That's what makes the conversation fun. Game seven, finally back at the Spurs, the ascendant at 14 degrees in the sign of Sagittarius. You know the drill. This is nothing new. The away team, the Knicks, were ruled by this exalted Jupiter. The home team, the Spurs, they are ruled by this, it's Mercury. That's it. Like it's this Mercury. What I was looking at here was the moon. The moon is positively aspecting both Mercury and Jupiter. I kind of was looking at this and thinking that again, it's very neck and neck. I don't think either team is like putting less pressure on the table, but I think I was considering we still have the 9-degree square here, so it's still within 10 degrees. Jupiter's clear of that. There's still some discomfort in the space of the home team. And yeah, I don't see anything else outstanding that is like, oh yeah, it's definitely this or it's definitely that. I think that the slight pressure that we're seeing placed on this Mercury, oh, and Mercury's out of its term and bounce at this point. So there's less of that secret support that we were seeing more in game five for the Spurs, the home team. And so I think that slightly less present edge and the strain from Saturn, that is kind of giving a sense of like, okay, the Knicks.
Okay.
But again, this is not something that's super overt. I think that once we look at how the Knicks directly are impacted, the team, by game five, that is where things became a little bit more clear for me. What do you see, Trevor?
In NBA history, I'm not, don't quote me on this, but I think that it's one team has come back from a 3-1 deficit in the finals before.
Okay,
So it's just,
it's
if you're looking
unlikely.
statistic wise, it's incredibly unlikely. for the Spurs to win 3 games in a row
And we do
in
love
the
it. But imagine
finals.
if they
If
did.
they did, it'd be crazy. It'd be insane.
Yeah.
It would be insane. Like
Yeah.
the last person to do it was I re- the only I think the only finals that I've like was able to watch that this happened in was when LeBron came back against Golden State like 8, 9 years ago.
And we talked about Wemby because he is taking on the mantle. He wants to be that next great. He's going to be that next great, but he's under so much pressure right now and thinks he needs to do it and pull it off right now,
Hmm.
but he doesn't really need to. So he may be holding himself to that standard or even above
Yeah.
LeBron.
I he's got the chance to be the best ever. If he stays healthy, just what a 7'5" human can do
Yeah,
is insane. He
truly.
can do everything. He can do everything on the basketball court.
Yep.
There's never been anybody like him. So it's just
Hoping he stays good.
yeah, I'm hoping he stays healthy and also I'm hoping it's not his year.
Yeah, that's
Because
fair.
he's got the next 12 years if he stays healthy. He could
Yeah,
win a championship any of the
all of the
next.
years.
Yeah, just let the Knicks have this one. Let him get this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So here we have the inner wheel as the Knicks. This is their June 6th birth chart. Functionally, the outer wheel is game 5. Now, what we talked about with this last game, game 4, was the activation of the North Node, which is once a year. We have the sun illuminating that North Node. The sun is still within range of the North Node, which is significant, but it's a little bit further away. What is notable for game 5 for the Knicks is the conjunction with Mercury. Mercury is dignified. It is well sort of resourced in the Knicks chart, which is great. And it happens to rule all of these Gemini placements as well as their moon and maybe their ascendant. We don't know. But the sun shining its bright light on this Mercury feels like the quick thinking, the fancy footwork, the ability to move in ways that are very unexpected, which we saw with Ananobi, are likely to make themselves known again in this game, where it's just like, how did they do that? Like, how did they pull that off? And for me, this is more of a win, to be honest with you, with considering the next chart. Okay. I will say also we have Mercury conjoining Venus. It's separating, but it's still pretty close. Jupiter is still within range of their Saturn. Mercury is applying to their Saturn as well. Not wild about Mercury applying to their Saturn, but again, when they're able to get into a space of flow together, it is pure artistry. And again, game 4 shows that. It shows like the magnificent ability the Knicks are able to pull off. Mercury is highlighting that considerably. Jupiter is highlighting that considerably. They do have a lunar square happening right now, but at the same time, the transiting moon is now activating their sun. That happens once every 30 days, 28 days, give or take a little bit. I kind of see this as very good. Like all things considered, I see this very good. There's also an exact sextile between the transiting sun and Mars, which, as we know, that's athleticism. So game 5, considering this chart, it feels good. It feels really good for the Knicks. And just as a reminder, the last time, or one of the 2 times they won the championship, the North Node was in the sign of Pisces, the South Node was in the sign of Virgo. That happens once every 18 and a half years. It seems like for whatever reason that makes sense for them, that like is aligned with their winningness. And so I just kind of see this as like pretty pretty auspicious for the Knicks. Game 5 specifically.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add about the Knicks in general?
No, I mean the cohesiveness that you brought up totally makes sense.
Okay.
Their their chemistry is probably the best in the league this year. Like they're just yeah.
Yay.
They came back from 22 points down last series and then they came back from 27 or 29 points down this series.
Mm,
That's crazy. That's
yeah,
crazy. We've never seen that before. Still,
truly.
yeah.
Okay. Now we have the Spurs next. And this is again for game 5. Inner wheel is the Spurs. They have like 4 dates I can use. We used the Dallas, Texas one before they were renamed the Spurs and relocated. Okay. It is what it is. Am I 100% confident in this? No. And I mentioned this in the prior video, but their winningness doesn't necessarily map onto this chart, but nonetheless. It would if they are a Taurus rising ruled by an exalted planet. But anyway, what do we have going on here? So we do have their almost exact Jupiter return. I have many thoughts about that, but let me just see if there's anything else super outstanding that is worth talking about. Okay, so then there's a trine to their Mercury. So they're able to keep up. They're able to keep up this series. I think that that is going to continue. Where's their moon? No aspect to their moon. Okay. Mars is opposing their moon. Okay. Again, we don't know. We don't know if this is the best chart to use, but I do think that's something to consider. I am kind of seeing this, and I mentioned this to you already, Trevor, but their Jupiter return. Jupiter is usually like, here, gifts, mwah, bestowing goodness, but it's also excess. And I'm kind of seeing this as like an Icarus moment for them, where it's like, we could have it all, like today. And it's like, well,
Hmm.
actually. And I think that that is kind of what we have been seeing, where they are so able to maintain and like keep up with the Knicks, but their tempo is just wacky and weird. Fox, who we've known to be wonderful, has also been like kind of out of balance. Wemby is 1 point away from a 1 game suspension. Is that correct?
One foul away, yeah.
One foul away. So like they have a lot going for them. And also, like, where do they need to bring in the moderation? Where do they need to be aware of, like, okay, like you need to maybe be off the court. I know you're our star player in this moment, but like we got to internally regulate. Like we need to make sure we can keep you in this next game. So I'm not seeing too much direct activation for the Spurs for this game. The transiting Sun trine Mercury is great. This means that they can keep up point wise for game 5. I do like the North Node on Venus, and working with Dorje, I'd be like, look, it's the North Node's really close to a planet. And often he would say, yes, but it's separating. It's not the same intensity is not really there. And so I do think it's close enough to be worth considering, but it's not something where it's like a rescuing point necessarily. And it's certainly not the same type of activation that we see amongst the Knicks. So I think that the Spurs are able to hold their ground, generally speaking. I do feel like it's a decently close game. I don't see things where it's like a total blowout necessarily. Would love to see if it was. But there's just not the same type of fortitude for the Spurs that we do see with the Knicks. And let me just think really quick. If there's anything coming down the line for them. And yeah, next season's going to be fine. The North Node, yes, I mentioned this as well, but there will be eclipses on their Mercury and their Sun, which is uniquely destabilizing. But I often find the North Node, as we saw with the Knicks game 4, can correspond to like success. And so if we look ahead to when May, June of next year, if the North Node is close to their Sun, they're probably in the finals again. And I don't know off the top of my head, but something
Yeah.
to consider. Anything you want to say about the Spurs?
Just the Jupiter return, the gifts being brought.
Yeah.
They have a roster right now that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like they just have a incredible roster. So
Mm.
it kind of makes sense. Jupiter return the last couple of years they've been working on this roster and they're coming to a head. Like it's just a very, very talented roster that they've drafted outside of De'Aaron Fox.
They might lose
So
some players
oh,
next year.
okay.
So they might the thing that came to mind is like whittling down or like the culling of excess because Saturn's going to oppose Mars. Mars is
That's
yeah.
part of the problem. They have three guards that all should be starting,
Mm.
and there's I just have a feeling that Fox is feeling like there's not space for him on the roster. So
Interesting.
that
That's
might,
something I'd keep an eye on. Chiron's also opposite their Mars right now. That will shift signs during this final. So again, this puts them at a slight disadvantage where the weak spots are apparent even if they are really strong. And they are really strong. Quickly with Brunson, this is game 5. We're just checking to see key points of activation for the star players of both teams. So for the Knicks, we're looking at Brunson. For the Spurs, we're looking at Wemby. And so this is the inner wheel is Brunson, outer wheel is going to be game 5. I'm just seeing, okay, Mercury. Mercury is activating Brunson's Venus and Mars. It seems like Brunson's really communicating effectively with his team. I don't think that that's anything totally bizarre or out of the norm, but it's working especially well. Does he I don't know enough about basketball, so this is going to sound simple and silly. Would he have any say in plays called?
yeah, he's a point guard. He's got the ball in his hands the whole game. So
That's working for him this game.
yeah.
We still have Jupiter around his Venus and his Mars as well, so like his run, the run he's been on should continue. It is weakening slightly, not the end of the world. Transiting Moon, again, that's what we're getting for the day of what we can expect. It's actually supporting his natal Saturn and his natal Moon. For whatever reason, this man has like seemingly harnessed a lot of the stories of his Saturn return already, where it's not just about him, it's about his team. And if he can continue that, if he doesn't need to be the star, which I don't think he doesn't act like that, right?
Oh yeah.
If he doesn't need to be the star, he is able to utilize his authority, his planning, and his gameplay in ways that support success for this game.
Okay.
Again, there's nothing where it's like, oh, yes, this is like a hole in one, but there is considerable positive support for
Mhm.
him.
Yeah.
there anything you want to say about Brunson?
Um, I love this guy.
Yeah.
I love this guy. He's on a very team-friendly deal so they can have the team that they have. Like he
Yeah.
took a pay cut, um, and is just very selfless, to be honest with you. I mean, he takes a lot of shots, he scores a lot of points, like he's great, but he also you can just tell that he loves his team and he wants to win. That's all he does. Everywhere he's been, he's won. He was on the Mavericks for a little bit. They made it to the conference finals when he was on the Mavericks,
Mhm.
and then he didn't get signed and
Okay.
he got traded to New York, and New York's been on the upswing since he got there.
Yeah.
So it's just like
Yeah.
every
So he really is the star. I am curious. Let's look. Sometimes it's really, oh, I know what's going on. Sometimes it's fun to look at star players in specific team settings that like don't do well elsewhere, and then they like are taken up by a team, and it's just like, oh, that's their signature player. With Jalen Brunson, his sun in the sign of Virgo is conjoining the moon of the Knicks. And so I figured it would be like, a lot of Gemini activation, which tends to be mapping onto the broader Knicks signature, but like that's a lot. And so he does seem to fit in with their internal vision of what good basketball is. I think I would not be surprised if he is somebody who is very, very sharp in terms of like
yes.
making the correct athletic and cerebral decisions on the court in ways that like the Knicks as a unit very much yearn for and would love to see more of.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were more Virgos, Virgo Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars on the Knicks in general. And in incoming players, people they're drafting, especially once the South Node pushes into the sign of Leo, I wouldn't be surprised if they signed more. Um, with that in mind, Wemby, our last player. So inner wheel, we have the validated chart. This is definitely his rising sign. This is definitely his moon to the degree. What I immediately notice is he is in his lunar return almost to the degree itself. It's within 2 degrees. The sun is still in his first house, ascendant and descendant activation. What else do we have? North node is still creeping toward his Uranus, transiting Uranus. Where is it? Square his Uranus pretty closely. Things are less stable for him personally. Uh, mm, Saturn's still hanging out on his Mars, so this is just subpar for him. I think in coming seasons, it's going to be unreal to watch him play. I think it already is. Just wait. Just wait. Mars is right on his north node. This has been a signature we've been dealing with. I don't see this as anything like bizarre or outstanding. This can be like getting back attuned with his body. So seeing this, it may be like, oh, yep, I'm not going to be there. There will not be a time when I'm on the bench. So what
Right.
do I need to do in order to make sure that I am like on the straight and narrow, playing all quarters, that type of thing? What else do we have? Yeah, Saturn's still activating the square with his Saturn, with his sun specifically. That is not comfortable. And what house? One, two, three. His mental game is not right. I'm telling you. I personally firmly believe he thinks he needs to do very specific things in this series in order to set himself up for a particular career outcome, and he just doesn't. And I think once he gets older, he'll look back and be like, I can even see it in like, an interview or a documentary where he's like, I thought, that was the end all be all. And then came the next few years where like it was much easier, it was much smoother. The wins came even easier.
Yeah.
But I think internally there's a sense of like, if I don't do this now, am I letting down the people who have invested in me? Am I letting down my team? Am I letting down myself? Like there's so much going on. And I think that is something he really needs to be compassionate with himself about. Genuinely, like that matters so much more than anything with performance. What is working for him? The lunar activation is great. Let me think about this. It feels like he's a little bit more sturdy and like I know who I am, I know what I bring. And we haven't really seen that much this series. It has been more of like like what's going on? What do I do? Especially game two, when he was walking off the court, you could just see he was like, hey, I'm like, what's going on? I think that this game in particular helps set him a little bit more on like the straight and narrow perceptually in terms of like, okay, like this is fine, like this is what we need to do, and we're going to get it done. I don't know if it's something that he can necessarily deliver on at this point, but I think that helps to offset a little bit of the pressure. Now, what do you think about Wemby at this point
I
in
think
time?
he's great.
Okay.
I think that he had a rough game five. He missed two free throws back to back.
Mm.
at the end of game five
Okay.
that like allowed the Knicks to continue to stay in the game. It was like Wemby missed those two free throws. De'Aaron Fox put up that layup that he shouldn't have shot.
Yep.
Like everything happened in the Knicks' favor to, and it was all just mistakes on the Spurs. Like Wemby's a great free throw shooter. He's 80 something percent, like 85+% from the free throw line.
Okay.
He doesn't miss two in a row, and he missed two in a row. So it just
So he's, yeah.
he's
Okay. Something is going
yeah,
on.
he's there's a lot of pressure on him. I think that he I think that in this position later in his career, he's going to be averaging 30 and 15 in the finals.
Hmm.
Right now, he's not there. He's not doing that. He's not dominating in the ways that he's
Everyone's
going to be.
expecting
Yeah,
him to. And it's
exactly.
just like, let him just give him a couple of years.
Yeah.
Like he's already almost there, right?
Yep. He's already, yeah.
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 Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think that he's a great leader. Yeah, I think, and he's still, he's 22. So like
Yeah.
he's not a veteran on the team, but
Mhm.
he's going to be a phenomenal leader. Uh he's just letting his emotions get into him this series of what it feels like because he threw Brunson to the ground. He got a technical foul last game that was not you can't do that. You're hurting your team.
Mhm.
He's one technical foul away from getting suspended. So even if the Spurs win tonight, and Wemby gets a technical foul, he can't play in game six. So it's just he's got to be on his best behavior.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
With this in mind and reflecting over these charts, I think they have it in game five. I think the Knicks,
Next two.
I think. Regardless, by the end of all things, I'm thinking the Knicks take it.
Let's
I'm
go.
so excited. I'm trying to be impartial because I want to see the Knicks win. I think that the Knicks will have it today.
I do too. Yep.
But if not by the end of the series, they definitely do. Thank you so much for hanging out with us again. This has been so much fun to
Yeah, it
talk about.
has. It has been.
If you have questions or anything you want to see additional content, drop a comment. Please subscribe. Please like. Do all of the things that I feel ashamed to even put in a video. But if you enjoy it, we love to be here. I do offer natal chart readings, transit-based readings, can do all of the things and more. Please send me an email, drop a comment. I can share my email with you. I think it might be on some of these pages as well. And anyway, happy basketballing or whatever. Go Knicks.
Go Knicks.
Bye.